Hello, my name is Gray.
And my name is Crystal.
And this is Busty Asian Beauties, a supernatural commentary podcast where I, someone who has seen this show several times,
And I, someone who only knows the show through social media, discuss every single episode of Supernatural from start to finish. Also, we are both Asian.
both Asian. So for today's episode, we will be discussing Season 2, Episode 7, The Usual Suspects, written by Catherine Yemfries, directed by Mike Roll.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. What are her other episodes?
She co-wrote Dead Man's Blood with John Shaban.
Oh, she was responsible for the good parts. Oh, she's
Yes.
the elementary person.
Yeah, she's the elementary person, so I'm going to assume that she's good.
Okay, before going into the episode, we have an announcement. The thing is, like, when I was contemplating how to do this announcement, we were gonna do it for episode 30 of the podcast. And the joke is gonna be Daddy's little girl broke in 30. But we're not doing it in the 30th episode, we're doing it the 29th. So, Daddy's little girl broke in 29. Me and Crystal have decided that we're gonna tone down the episodes into a once a week thing, because if you know didn't know this, or if you're listening to this in the future where we are doing once a week, all the prior episodes to episode 29 have been done twice a week, so now we're reducing the numbers of episode we put out.
It's a lot of work, and also you guys probably don't have time to listen to us talk for like 3 to 4 hours per week either, so...
Yeah. The thing is, like, when we were doing it like 2 hours per week, it was fine, right? Now we're doing it 2 hours per episode. So it's like, dude, cut it off. Cut it off. So, yeah, we're gonna be doing once a week. Starting from now, we'll be releasing episodes every Tuesday. I'm really sad that we didn't do it in episode 30. I really wanted to break at 30, like Dean Winchester, but alas.
Alas.
Okay, so before going in, The Usual Suspects, what did you know about this episode before watching it?
So, I didn't know anything from the name, but once it started, I remembered that there is a plot in Bad Moon Rising that is similar to this, where they get questioned by the police, and one of them was like killed a woman because of something related to heroin. But in Bad Moon Rising, it ended with, I believe, Sam and Dean killing both of the cops and jetting. So sadly, we didn't get that.
Yeah, I also didn't. I mean, I know that The Usual I know where the title comes from. Actually, I don't know where the title comes from. It's a reference to a movie, but I haven't watched the movie, so I like, that's not the thing that hinted me in. It's the previously on.
Yes.
Like, it's a super cut of all the crimes, you know, credit card scams, identity theft, lying about occupation, like all of those crimes. It's a super cut of that. And then we get the scenes from Skin that were showing that Dean is wanted by the police. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the cop episode. This is the interrogation, the frisky women, I'm an Aquarius episode.
When do we get Henriksen? I was hoping he would show up at some point.
I think we get Henriksen in season 3. I'm actually not sure, but we get him prior to season 4. I'm sure of that.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, let's look it up, because wait, I'll look it up. Don't look it up.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to know.
Oh no, he shows up in season 2.
Okay. Fun.
Cool. So let's look forward to him. Things we're looking forward to in season 2. The first mention of Busty Asian Beauties and Mr. Henriksen himself. So we start the episode in a buzzing police station. We follow a man as he goes to an interrogation room, and starts talking to a guy that we don't see until the end of the scene, but it's Dean.
Yeah, duh.
And this entire thing is interspersed with a SWAT team, like going up the stairs of a motel, barging into a motel room. So just imagine that. The man that's talking to Dean, I think his name is Pete Sheridan.
Yeah.
Outlines the crimes that Dean has done.
Yeah, he pulled out the bad pod misogyny tally and was like, well.
And he says that all these crimes are short of murder, except for one in St. Louis. St. Louis?
Louis.
Except for one in St. Louis that the police can't prove because Dean allegedly died there. So as this is happening in the motel, the SWAT team enters Sam's motel room and tells him to put his hands up in the air. Woo woo. And in the police station, we finally get the Dean reveal. And the way Dean's face was revealed is the camera pans behind him, shows his back, and then the side of his face as he turns to look pretty much directly into the camera, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't look at the screen when Dean's face is on it.
This is the part where I messaged you, like... I love Supernatural. Like, literally, this is 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, and I was like, love to see Dean's face. I'm so excited to see more of his face throughout this episode. In the Philippines, we have 2 basic translations to the word handsome. There's guapo, and then there's pogi. This is gonna be relevant. Okay, stay with me. Guapo is basically it's like the higher version. It's like you have a beautiful face. That's what guapo means. Pogi is more of the appeal, the charisma, all that, So like pogi is like, you look like you smell nice. That's pogi. Anyway, like literally when this scene was happening, I was screaming at my screen like, he looks so foggy. He's so foggy. Literally, he looks like he fucking smells nice, bro. I don't know. He looks very good this episode. I think it's the mystery, it's the air of mystery surrounding him because he was very quiet and he doesn't speak for much of the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the air of mystery really gives him that quality of, yeah, he's a handsome guy. I need to suck a dick. Like in real life, bro. I need to stop lusting over Dean Winchester.
Well, I hope you find many dicks to suck that are attached to pogier faces than his.
Exactly.
Cut to the police station. We cut to Sam's interrogation room. And he's just standing and pacing. Are you allowed to, like, get out of your chair when you're being interrogated?
The thing is, like, Dean is a suspect. Well, and he's, like, caught red-handed, so he's chained to the table. I guess Sam is not, like, he's more a witness type, so that's he is allowed to walk around.
Yeah. He looks very, very tall in this room. This room has a low ceiling. And I think this was the moment when I sent to you on Discord. Well, first, before watching this episode, I said screaming and crying as I'm forced to watch Supernatural today. And then I think I sent, never mind, Supernatural is fine, I love seeing Sam. And I think it was at this scene.
Yeah. He looks very good this episode, I would say.
Yeah.
He looks, especially because most
with
of his
the
scenes are
arm.
with a shorter person. Yeah, the broken arm. With a shorter person. So, like, you can really see him be big and hunkering and lumbering, and he's so fucking tall.
Yeah. I mostly just liked him because he's doing his, like, puppy dog eyes at the cops sometimes. Like, please don't arrest me, we didn't kill anybody. So, the policewoman, her name is Ballard. She comes in with coffee and gives it to Sam. Sam says, "Oh, so you're the good cop. Where's the bad cop?" And Valor says, "Oh, he's with your brother." So she tells him how Dean's being held on suspicion of murder. And Sam looks completely fucking shooketh about this. He's like, "Murder? Oh my god! Murder?" Wait, Sam, you were there during Skin, like, the whole time, right? Remember that part? Remember when you called an APB on Dean in Skin? Yeah, so they talk for a bit, and Sam says that Ballard can't hold him and Dean there without formal charges. And she says, "Well, we can for 48 hours. And she says, "But you being a pre-law student would know that." Pre-law is not a real major, and Sam was totally a psych major, and how would he know that? I don't think he took a single, like, criminal psychology or criminal, like, justice class, which is correct of him. So, Ballard starts revealing that she has a lot of background information on Sam. She says the whole thing about how he's 23, no job, no home, Mary's death. She says your father's whereabouts are unknown. Ouch.
They don't know that John died because I guess because he gave a different name.
Yeah, they know that Eli McGillicuddy died, but they don't know that John did.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah. And then she says, like, "And then there's your brother Dean, whose demise was just a little bit exaggerated." And then she starts talking about how Sam was a straight-A student as a kid, got into Stanford, and then she says, "About a year ago, there was a fire in your apartment. One fatality, Jessica Moore, your girlfriend. After she died, you fell off the grid, left behind everything." And, like, Sam sort of ducks his head and looks quite sad at this. Ugh, what a poor little meow meow. And then he says, "I needed some time off to deal." To deal. And he says that he's on a road trip with Dean, and he says, "We saw the second largest ball of twine in the continental US. Awesome!" Oh, I love this guy.
At this scene, he takes a seat.
Yes, and he sits backwards. Like, the chair is backwards.
He sits the way Jared sits during conventions.
Oh no, that's disgusting.
I know this because I did watch like clips of conventions when I was younger. I mean, I still do it now. It's a very, like, I think it is I don't think everything that you consume in life needs to be worth your time. That's my take on watching convention clips.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, like, I watched Jared sit like that, and I was like, I'm gonna start sitting like that on chairs, and I did. So, yeah. Oh
Good
my god.
for you. Yeah, so he's sitting fucking backwards on the fucking chair. The chair is, like, he pulls the chair up to the table and he, like, spins it around on purpose, I guess, so he can sit on it backwards. Oh,
literally like Jared Padalecki.
So, Ballard says that Dean's fingerprints showed up as a lot of possible crimes, and that she's planning to run Sam's too. Sam continues to be uncooperative, starts drinking the coffee after sniffing it, I guess to check for poison. And then Ballard starts digging.
Like, the whole point is that she said fingerprints, right? She's talking about fingerprints.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they're gonna get his fingerprints from the cup.
Off of the
so
cup, yes.
So it's like him saying that like, oh, you're gonna get my fingerprints? Fine. And that's why he took the cup.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. So Ballard starts really digging in. She says, Sam, you seem like a good kid. It's not your fault Dean's your brother. So true.
Literally so true.
So fucking true. She says we can't pick our family. And she talks about the case in Skin, and she says, Dean's a bad guy. So true. His life is over. So true. Yours doesn't have to be. So true. And Sam says, like, really shocked, you want me to turn against my own brother? Like, yeah? This is not that big of a leap, bro. Haven't you read the Bible? She says that, like, well, no, because we already have him. We just need you to talk a bit more because I can try to figure out a deal with the DA for you. She says, you can get on with your life. Dean's as good as gone. How do you think Sam is, like, feeling during the scene? Because she has just poked at the wound of Jess's death and sort of brought up that he left Stanford just, like, a year ago and he could have had a normal life. Like, obviously he's not planning to turn Dean in, but do you think he feels any kind of regret?
No, I think, well, the way I interpreted this scene is he was being very focused on the immediate what's happening, you know, like Dean is being arrested. I need to get out of here. We need to solve the case. Like, those are the main problems.
Yeah.
I guess because the episode doesn't really linger much on Sam, like, at this point in the episode. So, yeah. We start with this thing that the episode does where there are flashbacks interspersed with Sam being interviewed. So, while he's being interviewed, Sam says, oh, my dad and Tony Giles were old friends. So we came as soon as we heard about his death. And then it's a flashback to Sam going, who's Anthony Giles? and what they figured out is this Giles guy, his throat was slit. And the tapes didn't see the assailant. Which, now that we know what happened, how do you think he did it? Like, he literally just tampered with the evidence?
I think he just wore gloves and edited the security. Yeah. Like, they've definitely... This is not really that much to go off of for a case.
Yeah, that's true. But they have, you know, showed up for less, so... Anyway, the only important bit in this part is the exposition, and also Dean going, what do you think, Scully? And Sam saying, I'm not Scully, you're Scully. And Dean replies, like, I'm Mulder, you're a redheaded woman. Have you watched X-Files?
I have not. Have you?
No. So this entire conversation is fucking worthless.
I know that Scully's the skeptic and Mulder's the one who believes in all of the conspiracy theories. So I don't think either of them is Scully or Mulder. I feel like they're pretty balanced.
I don't know, maybe in the actual show, like, if you watch it, there's a dynamic that, like, you know, you can see better. But all I know about Scully is that she's played by Gillian Anderson. And all I know about Gillian Anderson is she plays Bedelia in Hannibal. And all I know about Bedelia from Hannibal is she is fucking... yes. Is she a mother in the show? I don't think so, but she is a MILF, and I love that. So, who in the Winchester brothers is the MILF in the relationship? I think it's Sam. Go Sam.
Sam's MILF bait. Yeah, I don't know if
Sam
he is a MILF himself, though.
Coded. Yeah. Anyway, back to the interrogation. Sam is defending Dean now, saying that, well, because we weren't there when he died, Dean couldn't have possibly killed him. Sam tells the cop that when they arrived, Karen, who is Anthony Giles' wife, was a mess. And they just want to be there for her. And this is followed by a flashback of Sam and Dean posing as insurance guys investigating Tony. And Karen is fucking devastated, but she's like cooperating. She says that Tony stayed behind because his computers were being troublesome, and that's it. Dean started pressing for information, and the way he does this is he asks if he, as in Tony, said anything unusual, and Karen was like, "Oh, unusual?" And Dean was like, strange. And Karen was like, strange? And Dean was like, weird. Yeah, like, did he see anything? Did he hear anything? And Sam starts clearing his throat, and he looks at Dean. And the way he does this is every time he looks at Dean, he's making a like face that's like, "Oh, what are you doing, dude?" And then he gathers his face up back to the sympathetic, empathetic guy who's talking to the wife of a dead guy. And it's absolutely fucking hilarious. Like, truthfully fascinating facial control that Sam has.
Oh, like, we saw him be a shit actor in Asylum, but apparently he's gotten better.
Karen mentions that Tony had a nightmare where a woman was at the foot of their bed. Dean asks if Karen knows what the woman looked like, and she refuses to answer at first, but eventually says that she was pale and had red eyes. Back in the interrogation room, Sam is saying, "Oh, I gave her a hug and told her to call me if she needed me, and that's it. End of story."
Yeah. So, Ballard pushes because she says that she has an eyewitness that two men looking like
I think
Sam
you
and...
should start calling her Diana.
Oh,
because
okay.
that's the name that they use in the episode.
Yeah. I guess they call her Ballard. They call her Ballard in Bad Moon Rising. So that's what I'm going off of. Yeah, okay, Diana. Okay, yeah, Diana starts telling Sam that people saw him and Dean breaking into Tony's office. And Sam says, like, "Oh, well, Karen just called us and wanted us to get some stuff from Tony's office, even though the police weren't letting her in." Like, a picture of the two of them in Paris. He says it was wrong to enter a crime scene, but she gave us the key. And then we cut to them, like picking the lock of the office.
This entire like back and forth is actually really fun to watch. Yeah, like the juxtaposition of the statements is actually very fun. Like, you know how like episodes that like, borrow from movies are rated very low?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they borrow a lot of stuff from other movies for this one. Or, it's just a common enough trope that people are like, "Oh, we've seen this before." But it's still fun. It's still alright.
Yeah, I like interrogation room episodes. As they get into the office, they see a pool of blood where Tony was killed, and Dean thinks it's probably a vengeful spirit. While inspecting the office, they see this paper that just says the word Dana Schultz printed over and over, and it covers the whole thing. It's like on a bunch of papers in the room, and also it's apparently on the glass table in the office, which we see by Sam breathing on the table, and then like the left
Hell
behind.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I thought that was neat. I enjoyed that.
My notes said, "Blow it, Sammy." Literally blow it, Tammy.
Yeah. So they start trying to look up who Dana Schultz might be, but they've got nothing. Sam apparently is trying to break into Tony's computer. He says that he's pretty close to cracking his password, close by like 30 minutes, which, like, how do you think Sam is doing this? Do you think he has the Wikipedia page for, like, 1,000 most common passwords pulled up? And he's just typing them in one by one?
Literally, how is he doing this? Because it's not like the computer, like, tells you, you're one letter off. Like, you literally have no way of knowing.
Right, exactly.
Does he have, like, is he hacking into this computer like a professional hacker might?
I don't know.
How does that even work? I don't
even know how a professional hacker does it. Yeah, whatever. He's so smart, whatever he's doing, good for him.
Who am I to question Sam Winchester's computer prowess?
Exactly. He's literally invented laptoping it up. So, Dean is like, okay, so I guess I'm just gonna hang out here while you do that for 30 minutes. And he starts sitting and making mouth noises, like the, like, you know, the, like, mouth fart noise.
Yeah, like, I don't even know how to recreate it, but yeah.
Yeah, ADHD icon, he's just like me for real, etc. And Sam starts getting quite annoyed. And Dean's like, okay, I'm just gonna leave and talk to Karen again. So, he does. I feel like the thing is...
Yeah.
Okay, okay, flip phones at this time had games on them, right? You know that game with the snake that keeps getting longer and longer? Like,
as you eat apples?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't Dean have just played the snake eating apples game for 30 minutes?
Literally.
Yeah. Like, I think Dean should have just sat there and played Candy Crush so he wouldn't get accused of murder.
So, we go to Karen, who is lounging around, and she gets freaked out by an apparition. She walks around, you know, all freaked out. She goes to her room, calls 911, and the phone hangs up by itself, and the printer starts going, printing out Dana Schulpz over and over again. She goes to her cabinet to get a flashlight, and when she turns around, there's a woman there, and she screams.
So, now we cut to the outside of the house, where Dean arrives. He knocks on the door, there's no response, so he breaks in, and eventually finds Karen dead on the floor, with her throat slit, and with a bunch of pages reading Dana Schulpz all around her. And he goes, seriously, what the hell? And then he notices that there are bruises on Karen's wrists. And as he takes one of her wrists in his hand, he hears the word freeze behind him and a bunch of cops with their guns on him. And they order him to get on his knees, put his hands up, and he gets handcuffed.
It's truly fascinating, his reaction to a dead body, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, oh, damn it. And then he just walks in and starts touching it. And it's like,
yeah,
cool. Go, Dean.
Go, Dean. I know that every episode they leave their goddamn fingerprints all over dead, murdered people, but this episode's like, wow, you guys are really leaving your fingerprints all over dead, murdered people. Yeah, and it also feels rude to Karen.
We go to Dean's interrogation room, and Diana, which is the woman who interviewed Sam, walks in and tells Pete, the guy who's interviewing Dean, that Sam and Dean's story lines up to the last detail.
Yeah, which is very
truly
cute.
Fascinating. Yeah, very nice. Mm-hmm. And the two cops walk out and we follow them. Diana says everything is circumstantial evidence. Pete says juries have convicted for less. Diana says, what about the murder weapon? What about the motive? What about reasonable doubt? And Pete says, Diana, and holds her face.
Yeah. Like, right in front of everyone? Ew.
And God. Yeah. Literally right in front of everyone and God. And asks her, like, do you have reasonable doubt? It's fucking... I don't know why I was so put off by this scene. Like, I guess because they're cops.
Yeah.
Cops are not allowed to have love in their lives.
I agree. It's so gross.
So a cop passes by and he drops his hand and he says, Dean is our guy. And if we keep leaning on these guys, one of them will tumble. Diana reveals to us that Pete and Giles were good friends and that Giles was a defense attorney. Diana wants to get back in the interrogation room to talk to the Winchesters, but Pete says no. They stand by some vending machines, they look around for their people, they kiss.
I literally wrote down, ew!
Literally, ew.
I think it's interesting the way that they're setting up these characters, because it's like, I don't know, like, the way that Pete is so focused on getting Dean convicted, and we find out later why, but I feel like...
But, like, I'm pretty sure cops are just like that.
I'm pretty sure cops just talk like that, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
And I know that Diana's supposed to be the good one, and, I mean, she is, like, casting doubt on what Pete says, but the vibe is not like, I don't think they did it. The vibe is like, they definitely did it, but we need to get more evidence in order to land them in jail so we get our bonuses. So, we go to Dean's interrogation room. Well, we get scenes where we're cutting between Sam and Dean in their interrogation rooms, sharing their one brain cell. Dean is trying to figure out the Dana Schultz thing. He's muttering it to himself while Sam starts writing it down on a pad of paper. And then we sort of get scenes cut together where both of them realize at the same time that it's probably an anagram instead of a name. Again, this is a good episode for Sam and Dean having one brain cell, and I think that's sweet. Eventually, someone knocks on Dean's door, and it's some guy. He's smiling, and he introduces himself as Jeffrey Krause, and Dean's lawyer with the public defender's office. Do you have to ask for a lawyer to get one? Or do they just show up?
They just show up because that's your right. So like, if you don't ask for one, the DA will provide one for you.
Oh yeah, that's part of the Miranda rights statement. Yeah. So Dean does not seem very happy about that. He goes, "Thank God, I'm saved." And he asks for a pen and paper, which he gets. So Jeffrey starts talking to Dean about how his case isn't looking too hot, whereas Dean is completely ignoring him and trying to crack the Dana Schultz anagram. So Jeffrey's like, "What are you doing?" And Dean says, "I think it's an anagram." And Jeffrey's like, "Oh, what?" And Dean says, "An anagram, same letters, different words." And it's like, did Supernatural really think that, like, no one knew what an anagram was? They felt it necessary to put in this exposition? So Dean turns around the paper and asks if anything on there looks familiar. And Jeffrey, after a bit of like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" notices that one of the things on the paper, which is Soup Ashland, is familiar because Ashland is a street name close to here. So Dean starts writing a new note to Sam and then tries to get Jeffrey to deliver it. Jeffrey's like, "You could be facing the death penalty here." And Dean says, "Thanks for the law review, Matlock." Another Matlock reference. And then he gets Jeffrey to take the note over.
So we go to Diana on her desk, and she's typing up a report when suddenly Dana Schultz like starts showing up on her monitor, and then it all disappears, and she's freaked out by this. We go to Sam's interrogation room where the lawyer comes in and gives Sam the note, which reads, Hilts, it's a street, Ashland, McQueen.
Of course, referencing Lightning McQueen from Cars.
I know that this is Steve McQueen, like, that they're referencing, but I choose to believe my truth, which is that Dean is a fan of the Cars movies.
Right, and he's saying zoom, zoom out of here. What year did Cars come out?
I don't, let's look it up.
Cars came out in 2006.
Oh,
so they could have just watched Cars.
There's like tagline, right? There's a Steve McQueen tagline. Not Steve McQueen. Lightning McQueen quote. KA-CHOW.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think Dean should have said KA-CHOW like at any point in Supernatural. It's reasonable. Like, we've had this discussion last episode. But we're just continuing it. It's completely reasonable for him to like Cars. The movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he likes Cars.
He does like Cars. I mean, do you think he would be upset at the mechanical inaccuracies in Cars the movie?
Yeah, he's probably gonna be that guy.
Okay, but I also
they're
think...
literally sentient cars.
You know what I think?
I don't think...
I think he forced Sam to stay home at the motel, and then he drove Baby over to a drive-in theater to see Cars, and he viewed it as a date between him and the Impala. And I think that he gave a little wolf whistle at the blue Porsche, who's the love interest in Cars, and then immediately he was like, oh no, don't worry, baby, she'll never be as beautiful as you.
Yeah. We need to write Cars AU.
Yeah.
For realsies. The lawyer says, like, oh, I hope that was meaningful, but I would like to discuss your case now. And Sam says, sure thing, Matlock. And I love that. Like, the lawyer even says, like, you two really are brothers, huh? And I'm like, of course, right? Like, they grew up together. They grew up watching the same television in the same hotel room. Of course, they're gonna know the same references. Like, they watch the same thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's... Because you know how Supernatural always does this thing where, like, Sam and Dean are foils. What Sam likes, Dean doesn't like. And what Dean likes, Sam doesn't like. And it's like, they're brothers. Yeah. And not only are they brothers, they grew up in such close proximity for such a long time. Like, it's just impossible that they won't have so many things similar with each other.
Yeah.
As the lawyer starts talking, Diana knocks, and she says, we need you with the other one. And so they go off to Dean's room.
So we're at Dean's interrogation room, and he's being filmed by a camera, and there's a lot of people outside watching. And Peter says that Dean has decided to confess. So Peter tells Dean to talk directly into the camera, first stating your name for the record. And then we get the opening scene of the clicky AMV.
Literally. They made Supernatural so that Live Like Heroes can make the clicky AMV for real.
Exactly. So, Dean says, my name is Dean Winchester. I'm an Aquarius. I enjoy sunsets, long walks on the beach, and frisky women. Okay, Dean. And I did not kill anyone. But I know who did, or rather, what did.
Has he literally ever been in a bitch? No, I didn't say that properly. Has he literally ever been... I can't pronounce it. Has he literally ever been in a beach?
A beach? Oh.
Yeah.
Right. No, earlier I was like, yeah, I think we saw him have sex before. But I don't know why you're calling them bitches. Literally, has he ever been in a bitch? Virgin Dean Winchester truthing starts now. I think that, well, he talks, I know in season, 13, he talks about how, like, after all this is over, we should go on vacation to the beach in a way that makes me think that he hasn't been to the beach before.
Yeah.
But, you know, the I enjoy sunsets and long walks on the beach is, like, it's like, I don't know what's a reference to, but it's a joke that people often use to talk about how generic, like, dating profiles and, like, dating show profiles are. So, I think that's just what he's doing. Yeah, the frisky women, I think he added that all by himself. The special Dean Winchester. Can I give him a point for this and for calling Sam a redheaded woman, like, combined?
Sure, yeah, go.
Alright, thank you.
I don't think the frisky women is, like, that bad. I don't think it's a bad thing to say. He likes frisky women.
I guess? I guess. It's a weird vibe. I'm just
you can have half for that, and then half for, like, calling Sam a woman.
Okay, so that's together as one point. So Dean has gotten to his 6th misogyny of the season. So Dean continues, he says, I did not kill anyone, but I know who did, or rather what did. Of course it can't be for sure because our investigation was interrupted, but our working theory was that we're looking for some kind of vengeful spirit. And everyone around is like face-palming and going, what? And Dean clarifies, you know, Casper the bloodthirsty ghost. He just continues spouting shit about the supernatural. He starts saying that the ghost was seen by Tony and Karen, that it left behind a word, Dana Schultz, but that was jumbled because it's hard to communicate across the veil, so whatever's going on, it started on Ashland Street. Peter starts getting quite upset at this. He's saying, you arrogant bastard. Tony and Karen were good people, and you're making jokes. Alright, Peter. And he accuses Dean of murder again, and Dean's like, oh yeah, St. Louis wasn't me, that was a shapeshifter that looked like me. And Peter gets really mad, and he just like runs in and like grabs Dean by the collar and slams him against the wall. And Diana tells him to hold off, and Peter says lock his ass up, and then another cop shoves Dean against the wall face first and handcuffs him. And I know that people use this scene a lot, like, to be, like, horny, but, like, I feel like you don't, I don't know, I feel like there are scenes you can sexualize that don't involve police brutality. Yeah, they're definitely playing Dean as, like, the cocky hero who's, like, smiling and enjoying this, though. So, like, I feel like it's not that bad to sexualize it, but it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth sometimes.
No, because, like, you know that scene in season 9 where Cass is being tortured, and he literally, like, the scene where they go, shave your chest, father of two, it's fan service time. That scene, like... I feel like you're allowed to sexualize Cass in that scene because, like, it's not something that's, you know, as prevalent as, like, police violence. But, like...
And also, I think
I'm not saying that people are bad for doing it. It's just, it does leave a bad taste in your mouth, like, in context.
Right.
I understand that these people are not using it in context, so, like, you know.
Yeah. And I also think, because it's like, for these scenes, I feel like people usually go like, this is like, Dean likes getting shoved against walls by men, whereas the cast thing is just like, it's hot that he has his shirt open and blood going. Like, there's no, like, he likes being tortured aspect of it, you know?
Yeah. Also, just to mention, like, during that scene, like, Diana notices the Dana Schultz thing that Dean says and, like, looks actively distressed by this revelation that somebody else knows about Dana Schultz. Anyway, so Diana and Pete go to Sam's interrogation room, and as they open the door, Sam is gone, baby. He's not there. And the window is ajar, etc., etc. Pete can't figure out how Sam escaped because the fire escape is way over on the other side of the building. And Diana picks up the note and reveals that Hiltz is Steve McQueen's character in The Great Escape. Sam and Dean planned this all along. I love this.
Yeah.
I love this because right now it's still not as prominent a thing, but later on in the show, Dean does become like a fountain of pop culture references, and usually like I don't understand him. And you know, it's a thing that Cass says, like, I don't understand that reference. Like, he also doesn't understand it. But Sam does, because, again, they watched the same things growing up, so he would understand what the fuck Dean is talking about.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, they weaponize that, like, Dean being incomprehensible is something that they use to their advantage to communicate to each other secretly. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
So, Diana enters comfort room and the lights won't turn on. She heads to the sink and they all automatically open. Dana Schultz starts being written by an invisible figure in the steamed mirror. And as Diana wipes this off, the ghost woman shows up. Now that we see her clearly, the ghost woman, we see that her throat has been slit and that she looks like she is trying to speak instead of actually attacking Diana.
So, Diana now enters Dean's interrogation room and she asks him about the stuff that he was talking about earlier, the ghosts, all of that. She says, let's pretend for the moment you're not entirely insane. What would one of these things be doing here? And Dean explains vengeful spirits, and Diana goes like, oh, they can kill people? And Dean notices that Diana now has bruises on her wrist, like the ones on Karen's. And Dean realizes, like, oh, you've seen it. You've seen the ghost. Because, you know, the bruises thing is related to this spirit. And Dean tells her, I know you think you're going crazy, but let's skip that part, because the last two people who saw this died pretty soon after. Do you think that Peter was at this point planning to kill Diana, though? Like, because he doesn't have any reason to.
It shouldn't Claire, which is what the woman's name is, show up in front of Dean first?
Yeah. Like, that seems to be Peter's next target.
Yeah. Unless Peter really wanted to fucking kill Diana, I guess.
Like, just for fun?
Yeah, just for fun, please.
Yeah.
He is, you know, that's his kink.
So, Diana realizes that, like, oh, you think I'm gonna die. And Dean says, like, go to Sam, he'll help. And Diana's like, well, then I'll know where he isn't, I can arrest him. So, but Dean says, no, just go to the first motel listed in the yellow pages. Look for Jim Rockford. It's how we find each other when we're separated. Ugh. It's so nice to, like, just have all of the, like, Sam and Dean contingency plan backstory bits. Like, so true.
Yeah. And like I wasn't able to say it earlier, but like
Yeah.
the fact that they had the same exact story.
Yes.
Like, do you think they also formulated the like what would we say if we get arrested? Like,
Yeah.
how would we twist the story? And
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's cool that they have that like backup plans for each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, I agree. So Dane says you can arrest him if you want, or you can let him save your life. If I was Diana, I would just die. Like, I just be like, no. And then I would just die. I wouldn't arrest Sam, but I would also just die. But, you know, if she wants to believe in ghosts, that's good for this episode, so good for you. Now, please quit your job.
So we go to Sam. He's in a motel room, and he opens up the door for Diana. She shows him her wrist, and he asks her to elaborate. And she says, "I must be losing my mind. I should be arresting you right now." And Sam says, "Well, arrest me later, after you survive this." She then tells Sam what she saw earlier. The ghost was pale, had red eyes, her throat was slit, and Sam brings out a bunch of photos from crime scenes in Ashland Street and asks her if she recognizes anyone. And Diana's all like, "You can't have those." Sam says, "You have your job, I have mine." She recognizes someone, Claire Becker, disappeared 8 or 9 months ago. Before her death, she was arrested for dealing heroin, and Sam asks if Diana ever did narcotics. Well, you know. And she says yes, but doesn't remember busting Claire. Sam says she was last seen entering 2911 Ashland Street, but police didn't find anything. So he stands up and goes, "We're gonna have to find it ourselves and see if we can find the body." Diana appears fucking shocked, and Sam explains that they have to salt and burn the bones to get rid of the spirit. So
Yeah. Also, I feel like as a police officer, if you think someone got murdered, you do also go find the body. Like, I don't know what Diana is so shocked about.
yeah, I mean, like, he says the salt and burn afterwards, so
Yeah. Just an extra step. So, we go into a warehouse, which the transcript calls a dark and creepy warehouse in all caps. Well, in title case. Yeah, so they start looking around for a body. Sam goes upstairs, and while Diana's searching, she sees Claire's ghost standing by the window, trying to talk to her. Diana freaks out, and calls for Sam, who, as soon as he shows up, the ghost disappears. So, again, they note that the ghost doesn't seem like she's trying to attack anyone. She was just reaching out to Diana, and she was over by a window. So, as they move shelves aside, they see that the window says Ashland Supplies, but the plies has been, like, shaved off. So, that's the full, like, anagram. What?
I don't know, I just found this so fucking funny. Like, they, I don't know. Couldn't they just have found an anagram for the street itself? Do you think that would be like way too in your face?
Maybe? I don't know, but yeah.
This reveal I thought was fucking hilarious. Like, of course, like some letters got erased, and that's why it says Dana Shelps in the anagram.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, they see that there's a shadow on the wall where the letters appear really nicely because of the light through the window, and Sam brings his EMF over to the wall, and it starts buzzing as he gets closer to it. So, like, yeah, her body's probably in there. So he just picks up a sledgehammer and starts going at it.
Yeah, he makes like groaning noises that I was wondering if it was ADR'd in. But he was like, ugh. And I was like, cool. This is great.
So there's something in there. So they start trying to get the body out, but he mentions that it's weird that Claire has led them to her body because no vengeful spirit that he's encountered before has done that because they don't want to get salt and burned. So eventually they get Claire's body out, and she's like in a black body bag or something, and
Yeah.
they cut open the bag, and it's like this dusty ass corpse in there. And
How did that not smell?
yeah, right.
Why do corpses smell bad when they smell when it's convenient and not when it's not?
Yeah, maybe Peter put a bunch of pine air freshener inside the bag, but we just didn't see it.
It's not relevant to their journey.
Exactly. They notice that there's this very obvious necklace on Claire's corpse. And Ballard says, like, oh, I recognize this. It's rare. It was custom made over on Carson Street. I have one just like it. Pete gave it to me. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
So is the implication that he and Claire were romantically or sexually involved as well as her helping him deal heroin?
Probably.
Huh. Yeah. So yeah, maybe he was just gonna kill Diana because he's just into killing his romantic partners. So, jeez.
Sam figures it out that Claire is not a vengeful spirit. She's a death omen. She doesn't want vengeance. She wants justice. Sam asks, Detective, what do you know about your partner? And Diana starts talking about how one time heroin went missing from lockup, which I guess is like where they store crime paraphernalia from people they arrest. And obviously it was a cop who took it, but they never knew who did it. And whoever did it, though, needed someone to get the product out. Somebody like Claire. In a prisoner transport van, Pete is driving Dean in the middle of the fucking night, and Dean's trying to talk him up. But he's not responding, and Dean is obviously very worried about this. Back to Sam and Diana, who are now in the car. Diana tells Sam about how Pete just took Dean, claiming that he needed to be transferred. And dispatch has been calling, but Pete is not answering. And Sam says if he took a county vehicle, it should have a low jack that just needs to be turned on. And, you know, words, but basically they can track the sucker down.
Yeah, Diana's willing to give up Pete really quickly, right?
I mean, like, I guess she's, like, bitter about the romantic aspect.
Oh, do you think that's it? Yeah, no, you're right, because when she's, like, beating him up, she's like, why don't you give me another necklace? Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Which, like, on one end, yeah, you know what, that makes sense, because I feel like cops often are not willing to give up their partners even when they do illegal shit. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense that there's this extra dimension to it. However, it is kind of weird that they're having that for a woman, but also misogyny doesn't count when it's against cops, so whatever. So the van pulls over, like, in the middle of nowhere. And Dean says, pee break so soon? You might want to get your prostate checked. Alright, buddy. Peter seems pretty distressed, and he gets out, and he, like, yanks Dean out of the van and throws him to the ground. And he tells Dean, you're a cocky son of a bitch. You think those people in St. Louis are gonna buy that crap you're peddling? you're not gonna make it to St. Louis. You're gonna die trying to escape. And he pulls out his gun and aims it at Dean. And Dean's like, wait, let's talk about this. You don't want to do something that you're gonna regret later. And Pete cocks the gun and Dean goes, or maybe you do! Just in time, Diana arrives and tells Pete to put the gun down, and Peter says, like, how did you find me? And she says, I know about Claire. Which I guess I know about the murder, but also I know that you were two-timing me. She points her gun at him, too, and they have a bit of a standoff. And Diana asks, why are you doing this? And Pete, after denying, says that it wasn't my fault. Claire was trying to turn me in. I had no choice. And apparently, Tony scrubbed the money and then wanted to come clean about it. And he probably told Karen, so that's why Pete killed both of them. And he says that he just had to clean up the mess and he panicked. Diana asks, how many more people are gonna die over this, Pete? And he says there's a way out. This Dean kid's a freaking gift. We could pin the whole thing on him, right? No trial, nothing. Just one more dead scumbag. Which...
Dean's like...
Dean says, hey! But I think it's a good line in terms of, like, I don't think this episode is critical of cops as a system. I think it's very much like Pete's just one bad guy. But I think that line is a good, like, demonstration of the way that having the power that police have can make someone do really terrible things. So I liked that line. Because, you know, like, Claire was, like, a heroin dealer. Like, she was also someone that society wasn't really going to miss. And same with Dean. So, like, yeah, it is about how cops have the power to just pin stuff on random people the way serial killers kill off people who society won't miss. So Peter continues. He says, no one will question it. Diana, please, I still love you. Okay? And
Wild.
Oh god, like, they really just, like, had all of this in here for no reason. Like, they forced me to watch cops kiss for nothing. So, she starts putting down the gun, and he says, thank you. And he turns back around to shoot Dean, but while he's distracted, Diana shoots him in the stomach. And...
Well, he shoots him in the leg.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, she shoots him in the leg. And he falls down as Dean gets out of the way. And then she says, then why don't you buy me another necklace, you ass?
Literally, this entire thing boils down to...
Literally, I can excuse 3 murders, but I draw the line at buying another woman a necklace. So they start, like, fist fighting each other, and Pete gets her gun. Pete's saying, don't do it, like, all scared. So they look up, and it's Claire, who is looking at him and smiling. And then we hear a gunshot, and Diana has shot Pete in the back, and he's dead. Goodbye.
Hell yeah, dude. So, in the morning, Diana asks Sam and Dean about what will happen to Claire. And Sam says that she should be at rest. Dean asks, what now, officer? And she says, since Pete confessed, she can probably get their cases dismissed. But the St. Louis murder is a different story. But she can just say that Sam and Dean escaped. And Sam's like, are you sure? And Dean says, of course she's sure, Sam. And Sam says, you could lose your job. Diana says, I just want you to do what you do best. Dean asks about his car. She tells them where it is and also to not even think about getting the car. And Sam and Dean are like, yeah, of course, we'll just improvise. And as they walk away, Sam says, nice lady. To which Dean replies, yeah, for a cop.
So true.
And then we get Dean saying like, are you hungry? And Sam says no. And Dean says, for some reason, I could really go for some pea soup. Do you know what this is a reference to?
No, but I checked the wiki after.
Okay. It's Linda Blair. This woman is Linda Blair.
So apparently she throws up pea soup in The Exorcist. Yeah.
It's fascinating. I don't know if I'm sure she's famous, like Linda Blair, for being in The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that I know the name Linda Blair, I think it's because of a Filipino song that was played a lot when I was young.
Uh-huh.
And like the song is literally called Linda Blair. And it's like the plot of the song is like, I'm a student and then I become possessed by a demon in the middle of school. It's a fun song, and it literally goes like, teacher, my name is Linda Blair, and the ghosts are everywhere. I can feel it in the air, and it's super fun.
That is fun.
So that's why I know the name Linda Blair. Yeah. Anyway, what did you think about this episode?
I thought it was pretty fun. Like, I liked the format. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't expecting any particularly good commentary on cops, so I was not disappointed in that regard. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. I like the episode because of the format, as you said. Like, the format really brings it to life. Mm. Other than that, I don't really see it as particularly exceptional. Like, there's no emotional beats that are pertinent to the season. But I'll be honest, like, when the episode started, I was like, oh, can't we just do a Monster of the Week? I just want to see a Monster of the Week.
Yeah.
I literally was, like, sitting there, like, I want to do a Monster of the Week. And then I saw the Dean shot at the beginning of the episode. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, dude. I take back everything I said. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, best line, worst line. This is gonna be difficult. There are no particularly good or particularly bad lines in this episode.
Yeah, I think for best one, I'm just gonna go with the one that I pointed out about how, like, Dean's a gift, we could pin the whole thing on him, no trial, nothing, just one more dead scumbag, for the reasons I mentioned earlier.
I think my best line is Hiltz. It's a street, Ashland, McQueen. Because, as I said, like, I mean, I think it's pretty evident the way I commentarized on it earlier, but, like, is it commentarized or I think it's just commented. Yeah. The way I commented on it earlier, that I was super excited about the idea of Sam and Dean having, like, a language of their own. Mm-hmm. I mean, who isn't? Like, when you're a kid, like, that's all you do with your siblings. You make code words and shit. Mm-hmm. And it's like Sam and Dean are living the dream, living the brother dream.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna, for worst line, I'm gonna go with, then why don't you buy me another necklace, you ass?
I know! That's also my worst line. Literally, why don't you buy me another necklace, you ass?
The necklace should have been the "you're only gay once" necklace.
Literally. Okay. So, IMDb rating.
Yeah, like you said, this doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of season 2 and things that strongly borrow from other horror movies get low ratings. But I also thought it was fun, and people might like that the format was shaken up a little bit this week. So I'm just gonna go with, like, what everything in season 2 has been getting, which is an 8.2.
I think I'll go a bit lower, an 8.1.
Okay.
Just to diversify our assets, as you like to say. Oh my god!
What?
It's an 8.6!
Oh, wow. Did people just, like, really like the guest star? Like, I feel like people might be excited about that.
I think it's literally just because of Linda Blair.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Let's see the user reviews.
Yeah, people are all going, like, as soon as I saw Linda Blair pop up, I knew I was gonna enjoy this episode.
Offbeat episode. It's rather fun.
Yeah, it is. It's offbeat and rather fun.
I mean, yeah, I guess. It's a funny episode with a funny ending. Is this a funny episode? I mean, I guess there are comedic bits. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny. Literally, this person just put the entire like Linda Blair portion, like the bit at the end. I am hungry, and the strangest thing is I am in the mood for peace, which is a reference to The Exorcist. She spilled a lot of green beans there. It was funny. Sorry for the misspelling. Me too, bro.
There's 10 out of 10 rating that just... Yeah, that one. It's 10 out of 10 and all it says is, how did Sam escape? I don't have a clue how Sam got out of the police station. Am I slow? Lol. So true.
Literally. This one said it's tropey but fun, which I would agree with. Like, there's nothing wrong with being tropey if you do it well, you know?
Yeah. It says, Dean is hilarious as usual, plus we get to see a good amount of Sam, and he is in the background. They said literally Sam too is in this episode.
No. Yeah. I think that's it for this episode of Bus Station Beauties. Next week, we will be discussing Season 2, Episode 8, Crossroad Blues. Leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Bye. Or no, I forgot about my part. Never mind. Okay. Why did I say that? Okay. Follow us on social media. Okay. It's because I'm so hungry. I was like, thank God I can leave and get food. No. Follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/beautiespodcast and on Tumblr at bustyasianbeautiespod.tumblr.com. Our official tag is BABPod, BABPod. Thank you to everyone who has donated to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/bustyasianbeautiespod.
You can email us any feedback, comments, or inquiries at bustyasianbeautiespod@gmail.com. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.